Hi everyone, this is the Bearded Guitarist. Welcome to this new video. In today's video we are going to check out a few mistakes guitar beginners make and how to avoid them. If you're new here, welcome to the channel and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to check out when I release new videos. The first mistake I would like to talk about is the muting of the low strings when you play chords. Now if you're playing chords like E major or E minor or G major, they all have the root note on the low E string, so there is nothing to worry about and you can just strum all the strings. When you play chords with the root note on the A string, like for example the C major, which has the root note on the 3rd fret of the A string, or the D major, which has the root note on the open D string, then you should mute the strings that you don't need for these chords. For example, in the C major, you don't need to play the low E string. And if you use your left hand thumb, not to press on the string, but just to mute it, just to gently touch it to create this muted sound, the sound of the chord will be so much cleaner than if you strum everything without the thumb at all. Like this. So there is a huge difference if you mute the low E string with the thumb. Think about the D major. If you just play the D major without worrying about this, the sound of the D major is this one. So there are a lot of low frequencies that you don't really want. So when you use your thumb to mute, for example, the E and the A strings when you play the D major, the sound of the D major becomes this, which is much cleaner. Now, many people think, well, I can always decide with my right hand how many strings I'm playing. Yeah, sometimes you can do that, for example, if you play finger picking or if you're playing an arpeggio, but what about if you're playing a more complex strumming like? You can't really control with your right hand if you want to stay in time. It's just something that doesn't really work, so using the thumb avoids this problem. And in order to do that, you need to know which one is the root note for each chord you're going to play. The second mistake I would like to talk about is on your picking hand, on your right hand if you are right-handed, and it's related to the strumming technique. Now, when you play strumming, you should always remember that the movement, in order to play a good strumming, comes from the wrist. So it comes from here and it never comes from the forearm. So you should always avoid movements like this, where the forearm is moving down and up. It's always a wrist rotation down up. So try to be a little bit farther away from the strings in order to be not too close to the strings, because that helps moving the wrist rather than the forearm. And remember that it's a continuous rotation down up in order to avoid to go out of time. So if you want to stay in time when you play strumming, you always need to play down up with no stop. And remember that you do this with the wrist and not with the forearm. So you should play a strumming like, rather than moving down up in a rigid way your right hand all the time. Always stay relaxed and move your wrist all the time. Another mistake that I see in guitar beginners and even in players who've been playing for longer is that sometimes people just decide to play either with the pick or with the fingers only, without mixing these two techniques, these two ways of playing guitar. Now, sometimes you need to know more than one technique and you need to be able to play different kind of songs, different kind of styles. In order to do that, my advice is try to explore as many techniques as possible. Try to use your pick in order to learn how to play a good strumming or good arpeggios or good scales with a pick. At the same time, use your hand to play finger picking techniques, arpeggios, all the strings together, traverse picking, percussive approach, slaps, anything you can learn. Try to be open and learn as many techniques as possible when you start learning guitar. This will help you later to achieve the goals that you want to reach and to play different genres and different songs. Another very important thing is don't be afraid to learn theory. Learning theory will make you a better player, and especially when you learn theory, spend some time learning the notes on the fretboard. You should always know what notes you are playing every time you play a chord, every time you're looking for the root note of a bar chord, every time you play a scale. Try to know always what notes you are playing on the fretboard. Never go by numbers, always know what note you are playing, what's the name of the notes that you are playing. Another very common mistake is that when you start learning chords, for example, if you learn a D major and then you learn an A major. A lot of people don't spend enough time on finding references for the chord changes. Now, it's not only important to train the muscle memory of your fingers in order to achieve the shapes that you're learning, but you also want to know which one is the right finger, the right reference to have in order to anchor some fingers and change chords quicker. For example, if you go from D to A, something really good could be thinking about the ring finger on the second string, which slides from the third fret to the second when you switch from D to A, and you can achieve a quicker chord change because you use the reference of the third finger and then you push up the first and second fingers together on the A. Or if you play G chord and then you move from G to D, there is one finger, again the ring finger on the second string, which is not even moving at all. So if you have this as a strong reference, you'll be much quicker because you don't lift all the fingers and then you look for the next chord. You keep one finger down and that works as an anchor and as a reference for all the other fingers. Try always to think if there is any reference that you can use to move from one chord to another. Also, don't worry if you make a mistake. Try to always continue. Don't stop every time you make a mistake. So if you play a wrong chord or if you play a wrong finger on a different string when you play the next chord, just keep going and don't focus too much when you start on the sound of the single strings in each chord. The sound will definitely become better the more you practice, the more you play, but you need to be patient with yourself and give yourself some time, because when you start learning, obviously the sounds will not always be 100% clean. So just keep going without stopping when you make a mistake, and in this way you will get the right habit to keep playing regardless if you do a mistake, rather than, for example, playing with the right hand and then stop because you want to double check that everything is right on the left hand, and in this way you will get the bad habit of waiting for the left hand before the right hand actually plays. So always keep playing and keep going with the timing as your main focus, your main reference, as your main goal, and the left hand will definitely follow the right hand if you keep going with this technique. Let's see now an extra tip that I want to leave you. Always double check from the very beginning, even if you are a complete beginner, that your guitar is in tune. You always want to train your ears with nice sounds. So just double check every time that you grab your guitar before each session that your guitar is in tune. Having a guitar in tune will help you learn better and quicker, so you don't get used to bad sounds. You don't ask yourself why some chords don't sound too good, even when it doesn't depend on you and it's just something relates to the tuning of your guitar. So just use a free guitar tuner app or a clip tuner, anything handy and comfortable that you can use very quickly to check the tuning of your guitar every time you want to play. Okay guys, I hope that this list helps you. Let me know in the comments if you make any of these mistakes, and if you're new here, again, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to check when I release my new videos, and if you want to be notified when I release the new videos, hit the bell button to get a notification. Thanks a lot for watching. This was The Bearded Guitarist. See you next time.